Mood is one of the most important and overlooked things when it comes to art. It's what makes people feel something when they look at your work. It can tell a story, create a strong emotion, something that the viewers can resonate with. Now, mood comes from a few different things like lighting, contrast, subject matter, and the list does go on. But in this video, I want to talk about colour and more specifically, colour temperature. Most beginners usually struggle with this concept. They hear the term, they don't really know what it means or how to use it. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what colour temperature is, how it affects mood, and how you can start using it in your work today. So, what is colour temperature? A lot of people think colour temperature just means that you have warmer colours like reds, oranges and yellows, and you have cooler colours like blues, purples and violets. And even though that is somewhat correct, there is more to it than that. Colour temperature isn't just about the colour itself, it's about how one colour looks next to another. For example, a red might look warm by itself, but if you put it next to an even warmer orange, suddenly it starts to feel a little cooler. Or a blue on its own might feel cold, but if you put it next to a really icy blue, now that first blue begins to look and feel a little warmer on its own. So colour temperature is relative, it changes depending on what's around it. A painting with warmer colours might feel exciting, passionate and full of energy, whereas a cooler one might feel calm, quiet, or even a little sad. Once you understand how colour temperature works, you can start using it to change the mood in your own art, even if everything else stays the same. So let me show you some examples so you can see how this works for yourself. Here's a painting from John Park. In this painting he's decided to go for a very warm palette and use lots of oranges, reds and yellows. The colours that he's chosen gives his painting a very energetic and warm vibe, something that makes it feel like it's full of life and movement. And on the cooler side of things, here's a painting from Sparth that uses a much cooler palette. He's decided to use a lot more blues and violets in his image, all colours that can be found on the cooler side of the colour wheel. To me, this painting feels very cold, distant and lonely. The subject matter that he's decided to go with, like the ice, the snow and the mountain, helps to further push that mood and reinforce the idea of loneliness and distance. See how just the colour temperature changes the mood of the paintings? But here's the fun part, you don't always have to follow the rules. Some paintings use cooler colours that can still feel very scary or tense, and some warmer paintings feel very soft and peaceful. It's all about how you use the colours together. Like for example, here's a painting from Jamie Jones. Even though the painting as a whole feels very warm, it doesn't feel like it has a lot of energy and passion like the previous ones we've discussed, like the John Park painting. He's managed to keep the warmer colours while making it feel very soft and maybe even kind of lonely and introspective in a way. On the other hand, here's an artist whose name I can't pronounce, but they're using a cooler palette and they've included some blues, greens and some cyans in their painting, but they've managed to capture a lot of energy and motion in their piece. And for the final example, I wanted to go with this still from the movie Kiki's Delivery Service. Even though most Studio Ghibli movies feel very warm and inviting, this painting decided to use a lot more cooler colours in its palette. But the interesting thing is, even though the image as a whole is using a lot more cooler colours, they've managed to still give their image some warmth and life, which is very tricky to do but is clearly possible. So yeah, it's all about how you use the colours together. That's why colour temperature is so powerful. It can change the way that your art feels, even if you don't change anything else. So, here's a simple and quick exercise that you can try so you can put this into practice straight away. It's something that I did a lot of as a beginner and it really helped me to wrap my head around this stuff. Just draw or paint a basic sphere, nothing fancy. Now paint as many different variations of that sphere as you possibly can, but try to vary the colour palette and the colour temperature each time. You can do this by varying the hues of the colours, the saturation, or even a mixture of both. So maybe first try a warm palette, see how that works. Then once you've done that, you can move on to a cooler palette and see how that works for you as well. Experiment with using warmer lights with cooler shadows, or you can even use cooler lights with warmer shadows. It really is up to you. You'll start to see how the mood changes even though the shape and the subject matter is staying the same. This is how you train your eye to notice colour temperature. And if you can make something as simple as a sphere look interesting with your colour choices, then I think you're on the right track. Okay, so time to put theory into practice. Here's a really fucking boring picture that I found online. I'm going to see if we can make it more visually appealing by applying some of those techniques and principles that we've learned today. I'm painting the same scene but in two different ways. Same subject, same layout, same everything, just completely different colour palettes. First, I think I'm going to go with a warmer palette. Think lots of yellows, oranges and maybe even some reds. I want it to feel warm and cheerful. In the shadows, I'm going to shift that colour temperature by introducing some of those greys and shifting the hues towards the cooler side of the colour wheel. So you're going to see a lot more of those colder reds and maybe even some blues and violets in those shadows. Now that that's done, let's move on to the cooler palette. This time there's going to be a lot more softer blues, purples and some greys, and I want the shadows to feel warmer. Notice that I said warmer and not warm or hot. We're not going to put a really saturated red or orange in those shadows because it's just going to look weird and out of place. Instead, we're going to make those shadows warmer by shifting them to the warmer side of the wheel. Obviously you can do that through, decreasing the saturation, shifting the hues, or like I said before, you can do a mixture of both. Now the mood feels completely different. It feels calmer, quiet, and a lot more peaceful. I'm not changing anything about the drawing, just the colours, and it still feels like two completely different scenes. Alright, so to wrap it up, what did we learn? Colour temperature is a simple idea, but it has a big effect on how your art feels. If you learn to control it, you can guide the mood of your paintings without changing the subject at all. But like anything in life, you need to practice. So do the sphere test, try warm and cool versions of the same thing. Push yourself to notice how the colour changes the feeling. Also, colour temperature isn't the only thing that creates mood. Like I said before, you've got lighting, contrast, composition, subject matter values. You've got a fuck ton of other stuff to worry about, so we're going to cover those in future videos, hopefully. So if you found this helpful, I'd appreciate if you if you hit the like button, subscribe, share it with someone whose art is shit and all of that good stuff. And if you've got any suggestions for future videos, or if you've got any feedback, so I can make these videos better for you, then definitely leave them in the comments for us. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.